Moral purity and cognitive dissonance. I think this is something that whole men need to become more comfortable with. So, what is moral purity? Moral purity is the idea that I have done nothing wrong. I have always been good. I have been a perfect human being. Cognitive dissonance is when the reality of something is so uncomfortable to us that we internally struggle to come to terms with it and accept it. It's very much a part of who we are. Most of us want to believe that we are good people. We've never done anything wrong and we've never hurt anyone. But the reality is we're all human. We all make mistakes, and therefore we could not have been good 100% of the time, including me. Now, why is that important? Because we have to get comfortable with the idea as men that we are not morally pure. This doesn't make us necessarily bad people, but it does mean that we have to get comfortable with the idea that we have messed up, we have made mistakes, and that it is our responsibility to fix them. We have to hold these two truths together. That you can have been a well-intentioned person and still done things wrong, including myself. So why am I bringing this up now? Because as Giselle Pellico, the lady who famously made her trial public in France and who I admire for her bravery, who brought forth a case that showed that there were 51 men over years, including her husband, with whom she had a child, who would participate in horrendous acts. And she said, shame must change sides. I think she's absolutely right. I think collectively as men, we have to be ashamed of what we have allowed to happen by other men. This is our house, our team, which means we all carry a bit of responsibility. None of us is morally pure. That doesn't make us bad people, but it does mean on some level we were complicit. I definitely don't want to hear it's not all men anymore. I may not have, you may not have done something that's terrible, horrible, actual assault, but maybe you let patterns of behavior in other men slide, and then those men went on to hurt women. When we find that there is group chats globally with 70,000 men, 70,000 men. That's buildings upon buildings of buildings filled with men who are just roaming amongst us, who not only are okay with it, they're actively participating in groups like this and potentially, probably, committing horrendous acts. So shame must change sides. The shame should not be borne by those who are victims or vulnerable. The shame should be borne by us, the men, who have not done enough, and more the men who are terrible. But frankly, I think men who are in groups like this, I'm not sure they're redeemable, but I know they're stoppable. And the reason I know they're stoppable is because of this man, this guy, who noticed that a man was doing something strange and spoke up, which then led to an investigation, which then led to people finding out about Madame Giselle Pellico's case. So, what I'm asking you to do is to accept that you are not morally pure, just like I am not morally pure as a man. Be accepting that this is uncomfortable, which is the cognitive dissonance, because we don't like to think of ourselves as not perfectly good people. And use that as motivation to try and prevent horrible men like these from taking advantage of women and vulnerable people and children. The shame must change sides, and it is ours to bear. And we must be more ashamed when we do not participate in part of the solution. And I want to be clear, this doesn't come without cost. You might get it wrong. You may have to apologize. There might be awkward situations. There might be social consequences. But it's part of being responsible. It's part of being an actually decent person. And I'm going to put forward my thought that if you are willing to be a bystander just because you are not getting hurt, you are not a good person. You are an accomplice. Choosing to do nothing is a choice. And that choice is that you have enabled someone. And frankly, that is a guilt I live with. I feel like I haven't done enough. And I think it is time now for us men to really follow through on what men have been saying for a long time, which is we want to protect women. And the way we protect them is by speaking up. There's no grand heroic gestures. You're not going to be able to just catch someone in the act and stop them. You're going to have to risk social awkwardness and speak up.